What
Okay,
was the topic called?
serving Sri Radha, the giver of love. Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you for joining our Sunday feast, ISKCON Naperville. We welcome you all. Today's Sunday feast is given by our own temple president, Her Grace Premananda Mataji. The topic is serving Sri Radha, the giver of love. Premananda Mataji has been practicing teaching Bhakti Yoga since 1984. She did her postdoctoral fellowship in Wayne University and clinical chemistry fellowship from Loyola University. She worked as a lab director for Cook County Hospital and simultaneously served ISKCON Temple in Chicagoland area by organizing and facilitating many educational programs for children, youth, and adults alike. She currently serves as a temple president in ISKCON Naperville and is a source of inspiration and strength to the community. Mataji is very close to all of us, and she is uh, when she sings, it's nectarian. So that is my relationship with Mataji. So Mataji, with that, please go ahead and you can start your Sunday feast. Thank you very much.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you. Om Itnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, thank you for inviting me to speak. I think I was asked to speak on two topics because we are celebrating Radhashtami this weekend, to speak about serving Sri Radha, the giver of love. At the same time, we are having Bhadra Purnima, which is happening on September 2nd. And I was asked to speak about Srimad Bhagavatam also. So I was trying to connect these two topics. And so you will hear more about Srimad Bhagavatam. But by hearing about Srimad Bhagavatam, actually we are hearing about Srimati Radharani. Recently, His Holiness Romapada Swami Maharaj, he has been giving classes on the topic of Shakti Tattva. So Srimati Radharani, as we know, she is none other than Lord's Hladini Shakti and internal potency, which manifests as the blissful aspect. And so Srimad Bhagavatam, we know Srimad Bhagavatam promotes Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if we pay close attention, we will see Srimati Radharani in there. The Bhagavatam is said as Srimad Bhagavatam, and Mat means endowed with. Sri is the Lord's internal spiritual potency. So the Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, it is endowed with the spiritual potency of Bhagavan, Lord Krishna. So glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam is glorification of Srimati Radharani also. So instead of speaking separately, I will speak more focused on Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this introductory part, I also want to bring out the importance of Bhadra Purnima, which is happening on September 2nd. Devotees all over the world, they are having a collective goal of distributing at least 10,000 Srimad Bhagavatam sets this year. And it is going very well. I recently saw a map which showed the numbers of Srimad Bhagavatam that are distributed everywhere. In fact, I even brought this up in our committee meeting, which just ended a little bit ago. So in Bhadra Purnima, anyone who gives a Srimad Bhagavatam, they get unlimited amount of spiritual benefits. So I encourage each and every one of you to reach out, anyone you know, and promote getting Srimad Bhagavatam. Also, our book distribution team here is organizing a program at our temple, because His Holiness Ramapad Swami Maharaj will be here, and they are facilitating that people who sponsor, they receive Bhagavatam set from Maharaj. So this is a wonderful opportunity. So with that, I will also say one more thing. While glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam, today I would like to end my class with a description about the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is something that is found in Padma Purana, Uttarakanda, and I was reading somewhere that during this Bhadra Purnima campaign, the moon-like effulgence of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is spreading everywhere. So it is a fact that when devotees put their hands into their heart and soul into the distribution of this glorious, most wonderful, and the one and the only spotless Amala Puran, and naturally, the effulgence of the Bhagavatam, the effulgence of their lordship, Radha and Krishna, it fills everybody's heart, and this is a fact. So the story with which I want to conclude today from Padma Purana will will kind of reinstate that idea that it is Srimad Bhagavatam is our shelter. There is nothing else. So with that, I will just begin this. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I came across, I heard quite a bit about the Lord's spiritual potencies, or the Lord's potencies in general, in Maharaja's classes recently. And Srimati Radharani is the best, the Hladini Shakti. And Jiva Goswami, she writes about Srimati Radharani like this: the ocean, the milk ocean of Vrishabhanu was a mine of gems in the form of his many sons, but became perfect in producing nectar through the birth of Radha. She took birth when the moon was in the Anuradha constellation, bringing joy to all, 1 year after the birth of Krishna. People described her beauty in these terms. If analogies to the new moon, a golden lotus, a chakora bird, or a shower of nectar do not apply to Radha, who is beyond compare, what use are they? So these are some of the terminologies used by people describing the beauty of Srimati Radharani. So what is the use of any analogies, any beautiful analogies like this, if it is not applied to Srimati Radharani? There is a ton more poetic descriptions of this available in our scriptures, but we don't have time to go into the detail, since our focus today will be bringing everybody's attention to Srimad Bhagavatam. So who is she and how does she manifest in Srimad Bhagavatam? We all know that Shukadeva Goswami, she hardly ever mentions Srimati Radharani's name in Bhagavatam, very only once, that too indirectly. He's present, he is mentioning Radharani's name. In Maharaja's class, he mentioned 2 references. One was Srimad Bhagavatam verse, 10th canto, 39th chapter, 53 to 55. And another reference was from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 5.84. So I thought I will explain a little, beginning with the Srimad Bhagavatam verse. And this is happening in the context of Akrura taking Krishna and Balaram from Vrindavan to Mathura. So we all know that story. And Akrura is driving this chariot, and it is said that um, with the speed of the wind, this chariot was going to Mathura. And at that time, when they were near the Kalindi River, at some point, in the evening time, they stopped. So then Krishna and Balaram wanted to do their evening spiritual duties, and so Akrura took the chariot close to the river, and it is described like this: the river's sweet water was more effulgent than brilliant jewels. After Lord Krishna had touched it for purification, he drank some from his hand. Then he had the chariot moved near to a grove of trees and climbed back along with Balaram. And then Akrura asks permission from the Supreme Lord, and seating both Krishna and Balaram in the chariot, Akrura goes towards the river, and he wanted to take bath and purify, and then he wanted to say his prayers. So he went to Yamuna, took his bath, and then he immersed himself in Yamuna's water, and he started reciting the Vedic mantras. And suddenly, Akrura saw both Balaram and Krishna in the waters of Yamuna. So Akrura immediately thought, how is this possible? This Anaka Dundubi's two children who are sitting on the chariot, how are they standing in the water? Maybe they left the chariot and entered the water. So he came out of the river, he looked onto the chariot, and he found that both the lords were sitting as he left them in the chariot. So he was thinking, was the vision I had of them in the water an illusion? Thinking like that, Akrura went back and entered into the river. And there, first thing that he saw was Balaram. And he saw the form of Anantashesh. And this is so beautiful. This is how it is described. And it's interesting to see the difference, how he saw Balaram and how he saw Krishna. So he saw Balaram as Anantashesh. He said, the Lord of the Serpents, receiving praise from Siddhas, Charanas, Gandharvas, and demons. Just make a note of that. Balaram was worshipped by Siddhas, Charanas, Gandharvas, and demons, who all had their heads bowed. The personality of Godhead, whom Akrura saw, had thousands of heads, thousands of hoods, and thousands of helmets. His blue garment and his fair complexion, all white as the filaments of a lotus stem, made him appear like white Kailas mountain with its many peaks. So then it goes on saying, Akrura then saw Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, lying peacefully on the lap of Lord Anantashesha. The complexion of that Supreme Person was like a dark blue cloud. He wore yellow garments and had 4 arms and reddish lotus petal eyes. His face looked attractive and cheerful, with its smiling, endearing glance and lovely eyebrows, its raised nose and finely formed ears, and its beautiful cheeks and reddish lips. The Lord's broad shoulders and expansive chest were beautiful, and his arms long and stout. His neck resembled a conch shell. His navel was deep, and his abdomen bore lines like those on a banyan leaf. He had large loins and hips, thighs like an elephant's trunk, and shapely knees and shanks. His raised ankles reflected the brilliant effulgence emanating from the nails on his petal-like toes, which beautified his lotus feet. And then comes this verses, which is 51 through 52, which is describing the energies of the Lord. I will just chant this verse. Sumaharha Mani Brata. Oh, sorry. one more verse, one more section is here. Adorned with helmet, bracelets, and armlets, which were all bedecked with many priceless jewels, and also with a belt, a sacred thread, necklaces, ankle belts, and earrings, the Lord shone with dazzling effulgence. In one hand, he held a lotus flower, in the others, a conch shell, discus, and club. Gracing his chest were the Srivatsa mark, the brilliant Kaustuba gem, and a flower garland. And then comes the energy verse. Sunandananda Pramukhai Prasadai Sanakadibhi Sureshair Brahmarudrayair Navabhischa Dvijottamai Prahlada Narada Vasu Pramukhairbhagavatotamai Stuyamanam Prithak Bhavair Vachobhir Amalatmabhi Sriya Pushtya Gira Kantya Kirtya Tushtelayorjaya Vidya Avidya Shaktya Mayaya Cha Nishevitam. So what that means is encircling the Lord and worshipping him were Nanda, Sunanda, and his other personal attendants, Sanaka and the other Kumaras, Brahma, Rudra, and other chief demigods, the 9 chief Brahmanas, and the best of the saintly devotees, headed by Prahlad, Narada, and Uparichara Vasu. Uparichara Vasu was a king. He was there in Kuru dynasty much earlier than the time of the Pandavas and Kauravas. He was a very wonderful devotee. That's why he's listed here along with Prahlad and Narada and Uparichara Vasu. This personality had, he was married, he had children. There was one child in specifically that we know about is Matsya Gandhi. Later, she was known as Satyavati, who married Shantanu Maharaj. So each of these great personalities was worshipping the Lord by chanting sanctified words of praise in his own unique mood. Also, in attendance were the Lord's principal internal potencies, Sri, Pushti, Gir, Kanti, Kirti, Tushti, Ila, and Urja, as were his material potencies, Vidya, Avidya, and Maya, and his internal pleasure potency, Shakti. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains about all of this. And so from this, we already know that the Lord's internal spiritual energy, and particularly the blissful aspect of it, Srimati Radharani, she is the source of everything. She expands, and so it begins with the word Sri. And this is where Radharani's presence is felt in Srimad Bhagavatam. And Lord is nowhere, anywhere Lord is present, the Lord's energies are also present. And Radharani being that source of all potencies, she is there with the Supreme Lord. That's why it is Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is a work that is promoting Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord. And so naturally, it is endowed with Srimat. It is endowed with the energy of Srimati Radharani. So Jiva Goswami writes in this context that terminology like a blue lotus. A blue lotus specifies the lotus is blue in color. Otherwise, it could be something else. It could be you can say something else is that. But when you say blue lotus, it has to be blue lotus. So in the Garuda Purana, it is specifically stated that Srimad Bhagavatam, which contains 18,000 verses glorifying the Supreme Lord. And that is this wonderful literature about the Supreme Lord. And therefore, this cannot be something else, just like blue lotus cannot be something else. So I will just read one verse from the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. which again emphasizes the significance of this literature. And Bhagavatam first verse, as all of you know, it ends up with Satyam Param Dhimahi, and this verse also ends up with Satyam Param Dhimahi. Kashmat yena vibhasito yamadulo nana pradhipa pura tadrupena cha naradaya munaye krishnaya tadrupina योगीन्द्राय तदात्मन आत्मनाथ भगवत् राताय कारुण्यतस् तच्छुद्धं विमलं विशोकममृतं सत्यं परं धीमहि कस्मै येन विभाषितोऽयमतुलो नानप्रदीपपुरा तद्रूपेण च नारदाय मुनये कृष्णाय तद्रूपिणा योगीन्द्राय तत् आत्मनाथ भगवत् राताय कारुण्यतस् तच्छुद्धं विमलं विशोकममृतं सत्यं परं धीमहि. I meditate upon that pure, spotless Narayana, who is free from suffering and death, and who previously revealed this incomparable lamp of knowledge to Brahma. Brahma then spoke it to the sage Narada, who narrated it to Krishna Devapayana Vyasa. Srila Vyasadev revealed this Bhagavatam to the greatest of sages, Shukadeva Goswami. And Shukadeva Goswami mercifully spoke it to Maharaja Parikshit. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, we directly come across Bhagavan. We don't need to look anywhere else. Bhagavan is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Bhagavan is known as the crust jewel of all the Purusharthas. We know Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And those are the 4 Purusharthas. And then there is this Panchama Purushartha. And so this Panchama Purushartha, which is the crust jewel of all the Purusharthas, it is residing in this Bhagavan. And we are coming across him directly. Directly you meet the Supreme Lord in Srimad Bhagavatam. So what about the other literatures? Other literatures can eventually, slowly, in a very slow space, we can get there. But Bhagavatam is quite different. The potency is so different. So there is a verse used, kritibi, those who should be, who has done some sukriti, they, they get this mercy. But the story I am going to tell you even speaks about someone who is a dushkriti, gets a sukriti from this Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the most amazing thing about it. So all these other literatures, there is in the Vedic literature, there is Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda. All these various sections are there. So all these literatures, in which way it is different from Srimad Bhagavatam? There is something called compassion, and there is something called lack of envy. And we hear about that in our Bhagavatam verse, which is the first canto, first chapter, second verse, which everybody knows. Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam param Vedyam vastavam vastu shivatam trapatrayonmulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim va parair Ishvara Sadhyo Hridyavarudhyate Trakritibi Shushushubhistakshanat. So as soon as you hear attentively, this verse is telling Supreme Lord becomes immediately captured in the heart. Immediately. There is no time delay. Bhagavatam immediately captures your heart. But we have to develop the desire to hear it. And how one should hear it? Shushubhi. And when you hear that, and we can immediately get the benefit. And so the other day, Vamshidhari Prabhu asked me to say something in the morning Bhagavatam, that 12-hour Bhagavatam recital, and it was all about the association of devotees. And so there, I came across some references which were the most amazing references, which shows the extraordinary importance and significance of receiving the mercy of a devotee. So so then we would always think that there is so much Vedic literature, there is so much in there, and there are Bhagavatam is in this verse also, it is clearly stated that Bhagavatam, it is meant for those who have compassion. It's very important to understand that. It is satam meaning somebody who follows swadharma. And Bhagavatam has another verse which says, Adha Pumbai Dvijashreshta Varnashrama Vibhagasha Swanishtidasya Dharmasya Samsiddhir Hari Toshanam. So even recently I heard Maharaj speaking that the goal of Dharma is to develop love for Krishna. And what is that? Dharmasya Samsiddhir Swanushtidasya Dharmasya Samsiddhir Hari Toshanam. Pleasing the Supreme Lord. That is the purpose of all dharma, pleasing the Lord. And so Bhagavatam is meant for somebody who has compassion and somebody who has lack of enmity, like Nirmatsaranam Param. But in all the other parts of the Vedic system, which is glorifying karma kanda, jnana kanda, upasana kanda, and all these, they don't give so much emphasis on compassion and lack of envy. But Bhagavatam very clearly says this: you have to have compassion and lack of envy. Otherwise, you cannot get that bhakti. So the process for getting bhakti that is emphasized in this time of Kali Yuga is chanting the holy names of the Lord. And very merciful bhakti is present in those holy names. Those are not emphasized in Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda, and all that. So Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayon Mulana. And so it is one more verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is from 10th canto again. Shreyashrithim bhaktim udasyate vibho klishyanti se kevala bodha labdhyaye teshamasau kleshasha eva shishyate nanyat yatha sthula tushavakhatinam. O Lord, if fools give up bhakti and all inclusive path and suffer to attain realization of Atma without bhakti, they simply attain suffering and nothing else. They are like fools who beat empty husks. And so all these Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda, and all those sections of Veda dealing with various methodologies, it doesn't help. It is really foolish to give up the process of bhakti to go into any other type of process, because by doing all of that, it is just like beating an empty husk. You are not going to get any grain out of that. So that is the beginning of what I wanted to say. However, I thought I will stop this class, but I mean that towards now it is like half the time is gone. I'll speak something from this Padma Purana Uttarakanda, which there is a lot of analogies and inner meanings to this story other than the story itself, but there isn't enough time to discuss all of that. But I will just say, just to cover the story alone, and maybe one or two small points towards the end of that. This will definitely convince everyone how important Srimad Bhagavatam is already, if we are not convinced enough. So this happens in a place near on the bank of river called Tungabhadra, and very fertile place. And the people living in that area were also good people, truthful, honest, religious, hardworking, and all that. And they were all very much into executing their prescribed duties. And there lived in that place, once upon a time, there lived a Brahmana, and his name was Atmadeva. And this man was born in a very rich Brahmana family, and he was more or less engaged in karma kandiya activities of the Veda, according to whatever he has learned. Karma kanda activities were his attraction, and so he used to do all those rituals. But he was a very kind hearted good person, and he will, even though he was rich, he will go begging alms because he was so humble. He wanted to set an example to people. And he had a very beautiful wife also. Her name was Dunduli. And even though she was beautiful, in character she was just opposite of this Brahmana. She was very mean, she was cruel, she was talkative, and she was also a gossiping kind of person, all the time talking about other people. And she was, at the same time, she was expert in cooking and household duties. um, so anyway, with all her bad qualities, and she lived with this good man for many years. And this person Atmadeva was getting too old, and they haven't had any children. And so he was very sad that he didn't have a child, but she never bothered about this. And the Brahmana, he donated lots of gold and silver and cows and all kinds of things to people, so that he was thinking that these pious activities could get him a child. But unfortunately, his wife could never bear a child. So finally, he was getting too old and he got too disturbed in mind. And so he left his home. He went into the forest and he was wandering around, and he was very tired. And ultimately, he reached a place in the forest, and there was a pond. And he was so tired. He went to the pond and he drank some water, and he was just taking rest there. And then a sannyasi came to that pond. And the sannyasi saw this man and he asked him, "Oh, my dear Brahmana, why are you looking so sad? Why are you, is something bothering you?" So the Brahmana immediately fell at the feet of the sannyasi and said that I must have done some sin in my past life, because I do not have a child. I have everything else in my life. So because I am childless, even when I offer my offerings to my ancestors, even they are not pleased with me. What is the use of living a miserable life like this? A house without any children. It is like a forest. There is no point in my continuing to live there. My wealth, it has got no value. So this is very, very inauspicious. What to say, even the cows in my house, they don't give birth to any babies. So I'm really, really very much in an unhappy state of mind, and I don't see any point of my living like this. So he was crying continuously. And the sannyasi, he felt very kind hearted towards him, and he said, "But why are you being so attached to your wife and wanting to have a family and this home? Don't you know that there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Why don't you shift your attention to Him? Why don't you worship Him? Why don't you, completely renounce everything and go into the forest and do that? Don't you know that great kings? You are just an ordinary person. Kings like Sagara, or the king like Anga, and all these people had great difficulty in, they also did not have children. And so, there are but better lessons to be learned, how saintly devotees live their life. And so why don't you just renounce everything and go and worship the Lord? But the Brahmana never gave up, and he said, I don't know what is the point of me thinking like that. And moreover, what is the point of me? I don't even know what is the renounced life and all those things. And so I would rather have a child. So he kept on insisting, wanting to have a child. So then again, this sannyasi, told him about King Chitraketu. We all know Chitraketu's story, how he got a child and by the mercy of the saints, and how the child was killed by someone else, the co-wives of the queen. And so he said, these are the kind of unhappiness that one can expect when having a child. And yet the Brahmana's mind did not change. And so he said, no matter what it is, I definitely want a child. So I need your mercy. So please give me a child. So finally, the sannyasi gave him a fruit and told him, okay, this is your desire. I'm giving you this fruit. You give this fruit to your wife. But what you need to tell her is that if she eats, she will surely get pregnant if she eats this fruit. But she need to follow. So now here the part I forgot to tell you is when the sannyasi was looking at this man, he saw on his forehead, it is said that just like the palm of our hand has some fate and all written in our palm, like palm reading people can say, similarly on our forehead also, our whole um, past and future can be said. There are people who are capable of looking at your forehead and saying that. So this sannyasi looked at this man's forehead and said to him, I can see it in you that not in this lifetime, in another 6 lifetimes, you will never have a child. That was the prediction this sannyasi gave. But in spite of that, he insisted on having a child. And so finally, sannyasi said, okay, take this fruit, give this to your wife, but make sure that she follow truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, and charity. And she should eat only one time a day, and otherwise she should fast. And all of this she has to do. And if she is very strictly observing these things, you are sure she will have a baby who is a very good, pious, and religious. So Brahmana took this to thank to the sannyasi, went home, gave the fruit to the wife. And the wife was like, what in the world is he saying? Because she knew that she cannot follow any of these things, truthfulness, cleanliness, and all that. She was already a person who was having all bad characters. And then on top of that, she started thinking, what if I eat this fruit and I get pregnant, and I'll become so big in my womb will grow, and I'll become so big. And what if some thieves come to our house and they are trying to steal something, and I have to run away from them, and I will not be able to move because I'm so heavy with this baby. And what happens if this baby does not, when the baby, like in Shukadeva Goswami's case, so many months the baby remained in the womb, and now I won't be able to eat anything. I will have many physical discomforts being pregnant. And on top of that, what if the baby does not come properly at the right time? What about the pain of the childbirth? I'm so weak, I cannot bear with all these things. People who don't have any children have a wonderful lifetime. So why in the world should I suffer all these things just because he wants to have a child? So she was miserable. And so she did not eat this fruit at all. She kept it aside and she waited. And when she was thinking like this, and when one of her sisters visited her, and she shared all this with her, and her sister said, she was a little poor. She did not have, the sister did not have much money or anything. The sister told her, don't worry, I am pregnant, and so I will give birth to a baby. You just pretend to be pregnant. So when the time comes, you give my husband some money, and my husband will allow me to give you the child. So until then, you just pretend to be pregnant. And when the baby is given to you, of course, you will not have any milk to feed it. Then you can tell to your husband that I will pretend, her sister said, I'll pretend I have a miscarriage. And so you can say, I'll call my sister here to feed the baby. And like that, you can take care of the baby. So all this, all the cunning methodology they employed in creating this whole story. And when this Brahmana asked his wife, did you eat the fruit? And she said, yes, I ate the fruit. And then she pretended to be pregnant. And then in course of time, what happened was, on top of that, they were wondering, both the sisters, now we don't know if this fruit is of any effective thing. So why don't we test the effect of the fruit? We will feed the cow with the fruit. So they fed the cow in the house with the fruit. And then the sister, pretended to have a miscarriage. When she had the baby was sent to this lady, and this lady showed it to her husband and said that here is our baby. And the man was so happy, and she said, oh, this is so wonderful. And so she brought her sister to feed the baby and everything. So this brahmana was so happy that he called all the villagers, all the neighbors, everybody, and fed them and gave them gift, and everybody was so happy. He called this child as Dundukari. And at the same time, within a few months, the cow gave birth to a baby, and it was a human baby. And this baby had ears, which was like that of a cow. And so everybody in the village came to know that this brahmana, he had a baby, not only his own baby, but he also had a baby given by the cow. Nobody knew what is the mystery behind it. And so then everybody, this man called him Gokarna, and he name giving ceremony, he donated a lot of wealth to all the brahmanas, and everybody came to see this child, and everybody praised the child. Everybody was so happy. And so he had two children, and he was bringing them up properly together. And this was going on, and the children grew up. And as they grew up, this Gokarna became the cow's baby. He became like a wonderful boy, and very intelligent, very nice, pious, very brahminical in nature, and all of that. And the Dundukari, this lady's sister's son, he became a real rogue, thief, and he was plundering people's wealth, and he will beat people, he will do horrific things to people, and nobody could control him. He started beating his father and mother also, and he was going to see prostitutes, and he was doing all kinds of atrocities. So Brahmana felt terrible. He was crying one day, and at that time, this child Gokarna, I mean, of course, because Gokarna and Dundukari was brought up by the father, both of them called him father. And Gokarna considered this horrible man, the Dundukari, as his brother. And so Gokarna went to his father and said to him, my dear father, why are you crying? Why are you so attached to your family, father, mother, mother, wife, and child, and all that? Don't you know there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Why don't you worship him? Why don't you leave everything, go to the forest, worship the Lord? And the Brahmana said, my dear son, I really appreciate what you are telling me. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, but I'm so used to doing karma kanda rituals in the Vedas that I don't know how to worship. And so Gokarna gave him full guidance. There is a whole philosophical guidance he gave. And hearing that, this Brahmana, Atmadeva, he went to the forest, and he started meditating upon the Supreme Lord. And he used to recite Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto every day. And finally, the Brahmana went back to Godhead. That's what happened to him. Now, that was the story on the Brahmana. But what happened with the rest of the people? So this Mataji, the mother of this Dundukari, she was beaten up by her own son quite a bit. And one day she couldn't tolerate it. She was so scared of him. She ran out of the house, jumped into a well, and committed suicide. Meanwhile, Gokarna, he left the house and he went on pilgrimage to some other place. And Dundukari, this horrible child, he brought some prostitutes to live with him. And whatever they want, he will go out and steal from people, kill people. He tried to satisfy these women who he brought into the house. Now these prostitute ladies in the house, they thought, this man, he will do all horrific things to please us. Now, one day, the king's servants are going to catch him. And if they catch him, they are going to what to say, they are going to kill him. They will hang him. So we cannot wait until then, because then the king's soldiers will come looking for this house and take all the money away. So it is better we kill him ourselves. So what they did was, they one day when he was sleeping, they they tied a rope around his neck and tried to hang him. But he was a strong man, he wouldn't die that easily. And so they realized they have to kill him. And so they put some fire, burning fire and all in his mouth, and somehow killed him. In other words, very torturous death. So because of that horrific murder that took place, this man's soul, it did not get anywhere other than the fact it became a ghost. And this ghost has got an ethereal body, and it is not firmly fixed in one place. So the ghost was just floating around that place. And the ladies, these people who killed him, they had burned his body. And when villagers asked where this man is, they said that he went looking for some more money somewhere else. They don't know where he is. And then they themselves disappeared, taking the money, and that was the end of him. So one day when this Gokarna was some other place, he came to know that his brother Dundugari is dead. And so what he did was, he went to Gaya and performed the Shraddha ceremony for his brother. And he thought everything is fine. So he thought, okay, let me, on his pilgrimage, on his way, he thought, let me just stop by my old house and stay there for one night. So he came to stay there. And during that night, this ghost of this Dundukari, it came there. It took various forms, like a bull and like an elephant or a tiger, and it was trying to scare Gokarna. But Gokarna was such a nice devotee. He was not afraid. He realized that there is a ghost in this. And so he felt compassion towards this ghost. And so he did not move at all. And the ghost did everything possible to scare him. And then Gokarna, what he did was, he sprinkled some water with mantras chanted on the ghost. And then ghost got the ability to speak finally, because he was trying to, when Gokarna asked him, are you a ghost? What is your problem? And the ghost was trying to tell something, but he did not have the ability to speak. And then Gokarna said, okay, I'll give you the ability to speak. And then sprinkled the water, and the ghost started speaking. He said, I am your brother, Dundukari, and these are the prostitutes who killed me. And I have done so many atrocities, and I have become a ghost. Kindly, please help me to get out of this ghostly body. And then Gokarna said, this is strange, because when I came to know that you are no longer living, I went to Gaya and performed Shraddha ceremony for you. You should have gotten liberated by now. And he said, no, even if you perform 100 Shraddha ceremonies for me, I will not get this moksha. I really depend upon you. You need to come up with a better program which is stronger than doing the Shraddha. And so Gokarna said, okay, let me sleep on this. I'll talk with others tomorrow. So when the villagers came to know Gokarna was there, next day everybody came to see him, all kinds of saints and elders and everyone. So Gokarna said, we have a ghost problem here. Dundukari has become a ghost. Do you have any suggestion what to do? And all those people said, everybody consulted their own scriptures and all, and said, we cannot suggest anything. And then, because Gokarna, he was an advanced devotee, so he worshipped the sun god and sought his guidance. And sun god gave him the indication that what you need to do is just to read Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days. That is the Bhagavata Saptaha. So Gokarna said, okay, I'm going to do reading of Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days. And hearing this and make all the arrangements for this, and everybody's invited, and all the villagers, all kinds of people came rushing back to meet Gokarna that day, because they were eager to hear from him, and they understood, what a saintly person he was. So the ghost also came to hear this. Now the ghost, because it had a this body which is made of air, he couldn't sit in one place quietly. So what he did was, he got inside a bamboo stick which had 7 knots on it, and that bamboo stick was there. He got inside that so that he will not move. So he was sitting there inside that bamboo stick and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So Gokarna had arranged a nice Brahmana to chant all these verses. And the first day recitation was over. And one amazing thing happened. One of the knots on the bamboo stick, it burst. So the second day, third day, 7 days, every single day, one knot was bursting. And seventh day, the ghost was released from his ghostly body. He received a form which was like that of Vaikuntha Vasis, just like the Lord, like a Sarupya, which was like a darkish complexion, yellow garments and ornaments, and a beautiful face. And this personality appeared. And he offered his obeisances to Gokarna. And he said, it is only by your mercy that I got released from this ghostly body. So this Bhagavata Saptaha, it will destroy, this kind of all unwanted things, our bad karmas and everything else will be destroyed. And Bhagavatam can burn to ashes, everything, even the worst and most unfortunate karmic reactions, everything, Bhagavatam can do that. And so there is this whole glorification of Bhagavatam. And so that is how this Bhagavata Saptaha came about. So now remember the verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhidyade Hridaya Granthis, Chidyande Sarva Samshaya, Shriyante Chasya Karmani, Drishta Evatmanishware. So the bamboo stick, how it broke its 7 knots, our Hridaya Grandhi, the knot in our heart also get pierced, and the Lord becomes visible. The knot in our heart can get broken, and we can directly, Drishta Evatmanishwari, we can directly see the Supreme Lord. So it will cleanse away all the impurities in the heart. So then the whole Vaikunta aeroplane came, according to the Purana, and it took Gokarna away. And then the whole question came, why is it that this horrible man who did, of course, he got released by the mercy of Gokarna. Why is it he alone was taken to Vaikunta? Why is it these other people who were also sitting there and listening, they did not? But the answer to that is the same point which we discussed during the beginning of this Bhagavata 12-hour point. So when Gokarna was speaking, this ghost was sitting in that bamboo without sleeping, without eating, in his ghostly body. And he was completely attentive inside that bamboo stick. His attention was so pinpointed, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. And because he was so attentive, that was the quality of his hearing. And because of that, he became very, very steady. His knowledge became steady. His devotion became steady. All of that. So if we do not attentively hear, and if you allow our mind to wander here and there, the effect is also different. Shushusho Shraddadhanasya Vasudeva Katharuji Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Sravana. So Mahat Seva is what exactly happened, because Gokarna became so compassionate on his brother. He got the mercy. And he was also attentively listening. There was no offense committed. And therefore, he got his spiritual body. So that faith in the words of the spiritual master, the humility, the control of our mind's needs or the defects of our mind, and attentive hearing, all these things comes into the picture. And so to add one more thing to this, and these Vaikunta plain people, the Vaikunta Janas, they also told to Gokarna that they will come for him. And so another time when Gokarna was still reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, the Vaikunta plain came to take him. And the Lord himself came. That is what is said in Padma Purana. The Lord himself came to take Gokarna. And he hugged Gokarna. And not only that, the Lord gave the benediction to all the people who were listening to Gokarna's Srimad Bhagavata Katha, that he took them to his abode. It's just like in Lord Ramachandra took his associates to his abode. Well, I think the name of it was Saketa. So similarly, the Lord Krishna, he took Gokarna to Goloka. He also took everyone else who was there. So this shows the mercy of the devotee, the devotee himself. So I'll conclude this with one or two more sentences. When we were discussing the mercy of the devotee the other day, there was this reference from Srimad Bhagavatam that Prahlad Maharaj, who was um, praying for the well-being of all the living entities, he said, what is the use of me getting anything? If how can I, all these living entities, I pray for them. And so there is a Sanskrit terminology used in the word, and the question is like, why is it that even though he prayed for all the living entities, why did only few people, why is it we are all still here? He would have prayed for everybody. Everyone should have gone back. But the answer to that, our acharyas are saying that Prahlad, there was a Sanskrit word used, these living entities, and which meant Prahlad Maharaj had specific people on his mind, which people who were on the purview of his mind. Particularly, he asked for his father, and then he had his friends and teachers and all nearby. They were on his mind, so they got the mercy. And then in consecutive verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Nrsimhadev is saying that anybody who recites these pastimes of myself and Prahlad Maharaj, the Prahlad, anybody remembers us, anybody remembering these pastimes will eventually get the mercy, get his mercy, which is true. So the whole point about that is, even reciting the pastimes of the Lord gives us so much mercy. How much mercy then if you become dear to a devotee like Prahlad Maharaj, or in this case, like Gokarna. Particularly, Gokarna's specific intention was to help his brother, who was such a terrible person. And yet, because of the mercy of Gokarna, he was liberated. And because Gokarna was doing this Bhagavata Katha, and all these people who were hearing him very attentively in course of time, the Lord became merciful and he took them also. So in the last time when we were discussing that topic about the mercy of the devotee, I mentioned that there were three factors in all these things. One is coming across association with these authentic devotees. Second thing is the mercy of the devotee. And the third thing is how the nature and the attitude of the recipients in the association of a devotee. And there is also detailed description given by our acharyas that depending upon what is the nature and attitude of each one of us, there are different degrees of results. But of all these things, everything can be overridden by the mercy of the devotee. So if the devotee desires so, even someone like, someone like this Dundukari, the ghost got liberated. But what should be our attitude? Our attitude is we should always avoid doing something that will be disturbing the minds of the devotees. Our attitude should be, we should be in a serving mood. We should not be in a criticizing mood. So it is said, without committing offense, with committing offense, or sometimes there are different situations in different ways. Sometimes a person may commit an offense, and also somebody may consider devotee as an ordinary person, and then again, what would be the result of that? So how much of a grace we will need from the devotee. Sometimes a devotee may go out of the way and give blessings also. There was another quote, another incident which I discussed in one of those classes, that there was a story of a king. He was the king's name was what is it called? I forgot his name. Some Vasu, and Vasu is the last part of his name. He was a, those days, the kings from earthly planet used to go to the heavenly planet to assist the demigods in their fight with the demons. And so he killed a lot of demons, and the Vasu killed a lot of demons, and afterwards the war was over, and he went and took shelter in a Patala Loka, and he was deeply engaged in meditation. And as he was meditating, the demons came to know he is there, and they went charging, ready to kill him with raised weapons. But they all froze like frozen figures. They were standing with raised weapons in their hands, and the king was still in deep meditation. And it was because of his power, the spiritual potency, they couldn't do anything to him. Then their guru, Shukracharya, he came there and he told them, now you preach atheistic philosophy to this king, and that will disturb his meditation. And then when his potencies are weakening, at that time, you can charge and you can kill him. But the king was so absorbed in meditation upon the Lord, he completely transformed the hearts of these demons who were ready to kill him. And because of his mercy, they all became devotees. So that is an extraordinary mercy. Even somebody coming to kill you, and you give them the mercy, and um, they are uh, they are served properly. So uh, this is the beauty of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the blessings that come from attentively hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from devotees who carry that mercy in their heart. Our attitude is equally important. I think I took 5 minutes extra. Apologize for that. If there is any questions or discussion or anything you want to add, please feel free to do so.
Mataji, thank you so much for your wonderful class. We are so many Dundabis are here in this world, and thank you for reminding. This is a wonderful pastime you narrated. I heard this so many years back. Hearing from you again is so nectarian. How you recite the slokas, especially, and explaining them. I'm very grateful, Mataji. I'm happy to hear you. I can't express the gratitude. It's been a long time we heard from you. So very happy. Thank you, Mataji. In respect of time, we would like to take one or two questions from Mataji. So we can wrap up, because we have kirtans by Jyotirmaya Mataji, and there are some announcement by Sumangala Mataji. So we just take one or two questions. I do not see any questions online in Zoom call. Anybody have any questions?
Okay.
Please feel free. We just give 30 seconds. Somebody may be unmuting.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Mataji.
Okay.
Thank you. Mataji, thank
Okay.
you so much for your time. I know you are extremely busy with your presidential work, but still you took some time for us. We really appreciate from our heart, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Okay, with that,
I was doing a total injustice to giving a class because uh, unbelievably morning till evening on phone calls with so many different people and just doing a class, that is not the way I would like it at all. So anyway, thank you so much for your
maybe
opportunity to speak.
maybe next time we will give 1 week of time so you can satisfactorily
No,
prepare for us.
no, it's not even the time. It is like the other things that are going on.
I know.
And
You know.
yeah, thank you
Thank you,
so much.
Mataji.
Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
Sumangala Mataji, would you like to share your screen and quickly announce whatever the announcements are for this week?
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Haribol. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for joining this Sunday feast, wonderful Sunday feast. Today we are doing the Radhashtami celebrations today, and we would like to have few bhajans, and I'll conclude with the volunteers, who helped. And the screen that you are seeing today, that is the flower decorations done today for the Radhashtami special. It looks so beautiful. Thank you, Chandana Mataji and Janaki Mataji, for doing the decorations. Thank you so much. Let's do the call for the bhajans. Jyotirmai Mataji and their families, Sachisuta Prabhu, Vachaspati, and they will be doing the bhajans. First, we'll be starting with Radhe Jaya Jaya bhajan. Mataji, go ahead, Mataji.
Yeah. Jyotirmaya Mataji, if you can start the video. Oh, yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Mataji.
So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
You can do one more, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you, Satchuta Prabhu, Jyotirmai Mataji, Vachaspati, and Shripati for the wonderful kirtan. During the COVID, it is so difficult to get the instruments and the bhajan team together, but your family, kindly, all of them are in one place. Thank you so much for agreeing at a short notice and doing these wonderful bhajans. Thank you so much, Mataji. I really like the bhajans very nicely. Thank you. I hope everyone enjoyed. Two announcements. Next week we will be having Janmashtami. There will be appreciations going on in the not next week, but the other week I will be sending out the Zoom details. That will be Janmashtami volunteer appreciation. That will be online. And we have another event that is coming up next week. That is next Sunday. That's going to be the donors fundraising team is doing a donors appreciation event at our temple. So details are sent out. I think please register. It's a registered based event. We cannot just show up to the event. So it is registrational basis. So please register for the event. That is for the donor appreciation. But I will be sending out the details for the Janmashtami volunteer appreciation, which will be a Zoom call. That will be the second week of September. And one last thing about the festival, thanks everyone for all the volunteers who helped. I will be sending out a feedback form. Please kindly, it will be a small form. Please, it takes only 1 or 2 minutes to fill it up. Please kindly fill up the form and send it back. I'll be sending out the details in the WhatsApp groups today or tomorrow. Thank you so much. Back to you, Pandran Gopal Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for the wonderful kirtan, Jyotirmaya Mataji. Thank you so much. And as Mangala Mataji said, there will be an appreciation event is going to happen. Please do register, as Mataji requested. With that, we're going to conclude this week's Sunday Feast. Thank you all for joining, and keep supporting our temple construction. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.